And good evening. Welcome to this pre-Thanksgiving edition of 4K for You, an open letter to Paramount. With me tonight is Valliant Renegade. How are you doing?
Doing great, and good to be back here live at 5 on a Wednesday afternoon and on Thanksgiving Eve. And happy Thanksgiving to all of our wonderful audience out there. And hope you guys are going to have a wonderful time with your families tomorrow in the celebration of America, the celebration of the blessings of God upon America, as written by Governor William Bradford back almost 400 years ago now, and as proclaimed by George Washington and many presidents since.
Indeed. Hopefully everybody has a wonderful Thanksgiving, but tonight we're going to talk about some 4K news. Isn't that right, Greg? How are you doing?
Doing good. Happy Thanksgiving to you all both, and everybody in the chat and everybody watching. Well said, Valiant. Couldn't have said it better myself. Doing good. Doing good.
Glad to hear it. Glad to hear it. And yeah, we're on episode 41, so that means the next one will be the answer to everything.
42?
That's right, episode 42.
Where the hell is that 4K disc? Don't even get me started.
Well, the BBC show has a Blu-ray release, and that's about best that's ever going to get, but I'm not so sure that in the era that came out, maybe, depending on how they did it. There's a lot of CGI in it, though.
Well, but even still, I mean, they have done some pretty good upgrades from those kind of things. I mean, it can be done.
A lot of it was practical, though, too.
It was.
That'd be a good one, but I don't know if it'd sell a lot.
I would pre-order that sucker.
Yeah. But anyhow, we got some news, rumors, and we're going to talk a little bit about, a recent issue with Paramount Pictures and some of their discs, especially one that came out this week that it does reek, that's for sure. Oh, and we lost Greg.
Uh-oh.
I'm thinking he's having an internet hiccup. So yeah, while we're waiting for Greg, hopefully you guys have been getting some great Black Friday deals, and there he is. He's back. Maybe turn your phone off the Wi-Fi or something like that, if that might help. Sometimes that helps me. But hopefully you're there, Greg, and you can hear us.
Yeah, I'm go figure on the eve of Thanksgiving, and the internet's acting funny tonight.
Everybody's shopping online.
Yeah, everybody's doing their thing, and it's taking bandwidth.
Could be. But I was just saying, you got some news and rumors for us, at least a little bit anyway.
A little bit. We do have an update on Rain Man 4K. Okay, because we talked about this once before, and it wasn't going to have any HDR or anything like that. Well, apparently, coming from MVD themselves, the upcoming MVD marquee collection of 4K of the Rain Man is getting a 2023 makeover and will feature HDR Dolby Vision. This might delay the release a couple of weeks. So it is getting an HDR Dolby Vision upgrade. Before it wasn't at all. So who knows? It might actually look good this time.
It should, considering the price.
Right.
And we also finally got a look at the Frighteners too on
Yes,
disc.
the Frighteners is coming from a German turbine.
Yes, our good friends Turbine.
Yeah. It looks like it's going to have both the theatrical and the director's cut in 4K, and you can pre-order it now. It's got some really amazing, like big box set type things, different covers and stuff. 6-disc Ultimate Edition, what it's called. It's developed.
Six dicks. I heard 6 dicks.
Oh,
6 dicks, dude.
He's got 6 dicks. I know what Greg's thinking about. It's like a pack of hot dogs. We're having some fun tonight.
All you need is 6 bonds.
There's some turkey hot dogs.
So that's 8 cheeks.
Jesus Christ.
Cheeks, man.
Or wait, 12. I don't know how to do math as racists.
Oh my God. We just start singing Lemmy Winks now.
Yes. But yes, Turbine is putting together an amazing fucking set for this. You get 2 separate cover choices. You can go with the traditional ghost cover, or you can go with the art there with, I don't know what you'd call that, the Michael J. Fox art. In the one in the smaller one there to the right of it.
With the Grim Reaper type thing.
Yeah, so either one you get, depending on which one you get either the hard box with the other cover and vice versa. And then inside, of course, the contents are all the same. You get 6 full discs, 3 of them, I believe, are 4K discs or whatever, if I'm not mistaken, or at least, no, 2 of them are 4K discs, then the rest are Blu-rays containing all the movies and the special features, and of course the director's cut and the theatrical cut on 4K as well. So
yes, sir.
There you go.
It looks like
Turbine does a great job. Yeah. They of course recently put out Texas Chainsaw Massacre again, where they upgraded it a little bit and made sure. Oh, and also the director's cut is going to be an open matte as well. I don't know if you guys are aware of what that's all about, but that is where it was shot in 35. And it has an open matte version of it. That's what this disc is here, it looks like. So
nice.
Cute.
It's a NAS. Now I'll never live down 6 dicks.
Well, I mean, they're taking more care of that than planes, trains, and automobiles. Oh, wait, I don't want to get ahead of myself.
Lord.
Oh, yes.
Down here in San Francisco, we call that a pack of hot dogs. I'm never going to live that. That's amazing.
How to speak San Franciscan. Vagina. Yeah. Remember what that's from?
Yeah.
Basketball.
Basketball. Yep. Yes. So what else do we got, Greg? Because I know there wasn't a whole lot as far as announcements.
Oh boy. You guys hear me okay now?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay. I'm just my internet. It's going crazy on me.
Since you're having some issues, I was going to pick up some announcements for you here. Event Horizon is coming out in standard edition, so you can get that again in case you missed the Steelbook. But Air Force One, on the other hand, is now getting a Steelbook. So go figure. So, so
that's true.
Plan accordingly. Black Adam is getting released on January 3rd, but is already available on digital, as I said it would be. Let's see here. Frankenstein 80 is coming from Cauldron Films. That one looks interesting. Let's see here. There wasn't really much else. The
Rawhead Rex has been announced for 4K.
Rawhead Rex in 4K finally has been announced officially. What do you got a date on that?
Yes, February 21st.
There you go, kids.
Yep.
So plan accordingly on that. And other than that, was there any other 4K announcements?
No. The only other things is Shout has those, the exclusive 1500 ones. They released the Evil That Men Do, with starring Charles Bronson, and Our Xmas starring Drea Mateo, and I don't know how to pronounce the other guy's name, and also Ice-T. There's that. That's the only other ones.
might be interested in the $30 though.
Yeah.
In the Charles Bronson one, maybe.
I was just that's probably it's one of those lesser known ones, not the greatest, but it's Charles Bronson, man.
I know, that's where I'm like, yeah, maybe, but I don't know for $30.
Yeah, I know.
I'll have to think about it. All right. So with that, yeah, the elephant in the room. Let's talk about this. This week we got a movie on 4K that a lot of people have been looking forward to. In fact, I think we did a whole entire show dedicated. Well, not the entire show, but we talked about when it was announced. Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. And yeah. Where to start with this shit? So this is like an open letter to Paramount. I'm sure they're aware of this by now that there's a problem. They can't not be. This movie looks like dog shit on 4K. I don't know what the hell they did or didn't do, and what I can tell you what they definitely didn't do. They definitely didn't go back to the original negative, and they sure as hell didn't use a new scan of any kind. And I don't know what else they added to this other than a bunch of DNR and fake grain on top of that DNR.
Then the Blu-ray.
Yeah, you cut out, Greg.
This was just an issue of let's get this out very cheap and move on. I mean, it looked to me like they spent literally no time, no money, no effort into this thing at all. Let's just put out a disc that says 4K on it at the right time, a classic quote-unquote Thanksgiving film, and just get some sales. I mean, that's what this looked like. This is, put 4K on the box, get whatever you can at the cheapest rate in terms of stock footage, run it through, rescan it, smash it through DNR, add a little extra contrast to it, put the Dolby Vision logo on it, God knows what else, and just ship it out. This was one of the laziest, absolutely laziest garbage efforts I've seen in a while.
Well, let's kind of give some context here, because here's what I at least think happened here. Well, like last year, Hats Off Entertainment, I think they are, did a viral video about the lost version of Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. And somebody happened to have a cassette with an earlier cut of Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. Now, it's not the 4-hour cut, but it was reportedly closer to, I believe, a 3-hour cut, if I'm not mistaken, from what I had heard. Now, this is just an earlier cut of it. So basically, then they had this 65 minutes worth of extended scenes, and none of them are really deleted scenes. 99% of them are all extended scenes. And in that, with that viral video, they're like, well, we got these scenes. We could release them. Well, we just re-released this thing in a steelbook last year. And they kind of do this soft re-release of Planes, Trains, and Automobiles every year. But it's been the same damn Blu-ray for the last, 10 years? Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is one I got here. I think this was the initial release of it here, and it's had at least 3 or 4 other versions since then in various covers and steelbooks and whatnot. So I think they were thinking along those lines, like you were saying, Valliant. Pretty much everybody already owns this thing once before. There you go. There's another like a lenticular 3D version of it.
Especially with all the PVOD copies and the digital copies and wherever it's licensed out. I just don't feel like they just, hey, we'll do this and it will upgrade all the PVOD copies that people already own. Like I've had Planes, Trains, and Automobiles on iTunes now for a couple of years. And it was, of course, upgraded to the 4K flavor in the last, recent weeks or months. I watched it last night. The 4K physical copy is sitting outside in my mailbox right now. I've refused to go retrieve it. I watched the 4K version on iTunes last night and was just, incredibly disappointed.
Yeah. And Steve Martin, for whatever it is, looks the waxiest from the rest of the cast with whatever they did to it. It's just, oh man, his face was really bad. And
there were scenes they didn't even bother trying to correct. Like there were some really overly reddish hues in a lot of scenes, especially like in the hotel room, which I realized that's.
Yes, I compared it to the original Blu-ray. Even in your right, Valiant, the newer 4K, whatever you want to call it, is much more red hued.
Yeah, the color grading or the color timing or whatever you want to call it oh god, it was just so poorly done. Like it was just slam it through. Like I said, and the reason I think it got to a more redder hue is what I said earlier. Smash a bunch of DNR on it, boost the contrast to give it a little bit more quote unquote color depth, and be done with it. And that's how you wind up with certain scenes that were filmed in lower light situations, especially with a tungsten color temperature light, which is around 3200 Kelvin. When you boost that and you just contrast enhance it without going back and actually doing color temperature corrections, you wind up with this flaring red hue in those hotel room scenes. And it was just everything about this transfer screamed lazy ass to me.
Exactly. Like, I like that we get the bonus disc with deleted scenes, but at this point, with the way this looks, I would have just as soon been double dipped on a Blu-ray version.
Yeah.
Just to get these deleted scenes. I would have paid $12-15 again to buy Planes, Trains, and Automobiles in regular Blu-ray one more time just to get these. Because this is the thing. This is what bothers me about this thing. Because this should be a celebrated release.
Yep.
Because not often do we get this many deleted scenes or something like this to where, like, let's be real, that a guy like this who does a video online actually, you know, it goes to the point where they actually go to the trouble of finding the at least a version of these scenes. Now, really, what we should be saying to Paramount here, and this is where I'm addressing them directly, you could have done us one better than this, Paramount. Because if you would have actually went into your vault and grabbed the negative of this movie, I guarantee you all those fucking lost scenes are in there.
Yeah.
And you could probably scan them at a much higher quality. And not only that, you could have actually probably released a definitive box set of Planes, Trains, and Automobiles that contained the 4-hour cut of the movie. And really made a big deal out of it.
Mm-hmm.
Not only would the movie look miraculous, you could have done a branching version with all these extended scenes. And even if it was a 3-hour cut, let's just say, okay, so maybe they don't have all the scenes, even if they just had the ones that are present here. So the roughly close to 3-hour, 2.5 to 3-hour cut, 2 hour, 45 minute roughly ish cut. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
That would still be an amazing fucking thing to have. But I think part of it is John Hughes sadly is no longer with us. So he's not there to say, I'm not going to let that go out looking like that. Because I guarantee you, if he laid eyes on this, he would have been embarrassed.
Yeah.
Welcome back, Greg.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that.
Hopefully you're keeping up with things, but like...
Yeah, Thanksgiving and family, it's fun when you old people FaceTiming.
Yeah, I think we figured out your problem there. But no, like, this is just a travesty. And they could decide to turn around and do just that, what I just said. Even if they don't do it to the movie proper and they just rescan the deleted scenes or finally go back to, and scan the negative and do a 4K. I think Best Buy was bracing themselves for something because they pulled it down from their website completely. Mm-hmm. I don't know if you guys have noticed this or not, but
I saw that. Yeah.
This is non-existent on Best Buy's website right now.
Mm-hmm.
I'm half tempted to send this back. Even though I've already opened it.
Yeah, me too. Honestly, I thought about just canceling it before it even got to me.
I thought about not even opening it. Yeah, because I full disclosure, I got the digital version this weekend because it was on sale for $9.99. Now, granted, if I'd have paid just $9.99 to watch those deleted scenes, I'd be fine. You give me this kind of up-converted version of the movie, really, it doesn't look any different, better, what have you, than the Blu-ray that preceded it. Maybe a slight upgrade. But it's still not, the stuff that's been done to the picture is so detrimental that it doesn't matter. And this is not the first time it's done this. I've been trying to point this out to people for a while, and Greg will back me up on this, and maybe even Valliant remembers too. Mm-hmm. I've pointed out for some time, there's a few Sony or Paramount titles. Sorry, I don't even know why I said Sony. Paramount titles that like Scream and Scream 2 come to mind. Yep. There was some scenes in Wayne's World 2 that looked like they had the same kind of issues as this. Now, granted, most of Wayne's World 2 looks better than this by far. Did I say Wayne's World 2? I mean Wayne's World 1. Jesus Christ. Most of Wayne's World looks fine in comparison to this. But there's still those problems present. And Scream and Scream 2 have excessive DNR just like this. And I noticed it because I'm like, these are supposed to come from the negative?
Yeah.
They sure as fuck don't look like it. Because whatever the hell they did, go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say, I remember that. I can back you up because I didn't really notice it on the first Scream at first. But then when I was watching Scream 2 over Halloween, and that's why that's like what I DM'd you, I was like, what they do to Scream 2? Because I noticed it right away. Right away, I was like, there's something wrong with this. And yeah, I think we have a Paramount problem big time. And isn't Pulp Fiction coming from Paramount?
Yes.
I'm kind of worried about that now.
Me too. Well, here's the other thing is like the first Scream, I may not have noticed so much because I didn't think too much of it at the time because
Me too.
Scream 1 was not shot on the kind of budget that Scream 2 was shot on. That's when it started standing out to me because I'm like, this movie should actually look better than the first movie by far. Because I remember when they re-released the DVD of Scream 2 because the first DVD of that came out very early on in the days of DVD because it just so happened to be almost a practically brand new movie when DVD first came out. So the first release of it was lackluster. So when they brought out Scream 3, they re-released Scream 2, and Scream 2 arguably looked as good or almost as better than Scream 3 did on disc, in my opinion. It looked amazing. And so I was expecting an uptick in quality because Scream 2, they shot probably on much better quality film considering they had probably twice the budget that they did on the first movie, I'd imagine, or at least a few million more.
Yeah, definitely.
Because they made the first one for next to nothing, and I know they had tons of money to make the second one. So it leads me to my point, though, and that is that this is not an isolated thing. This has become a normal thing. We've had a few other issues in the past with other Blu-ray companies, including Paramount, where they forgot the Flash on Friday the 13th. I think some people are a little off when they gripe about the darkness. The darkness to me isn't the problem, but I did notice some scrubbing. And that's what it is. I'd call it more of a scrubbing than noise reduction because even though it is a form of noise reduction, it's not creating the same waxy effect we would got, say, on Predator or Terminator. But what it is it's scrubbing what they are doing, and this is why I think they're doing it. They're trying to get rid of the grain. They don't want it to look grainy because they think that certain audiences, and this is the truth, especially among younger groups most of the time, think if they're seeing grain, then there's something wrong with the picture.
Mm-hmm.
Because I remember a lot of early 4K movies, their early gripes were, it's grainy. It's really grainy. And I'm like, it's film. It's supposed to be grainy.
It's like you're actually watching the 35 millimeter print of the film.
I know. And I'm like, and I put in a movie like from Vinegar Syndrome or one of these companies that actually knows what they're doing. And yes, even those, and I know, full disclosure, do have an amount of noise reduction on them, but that's just a balancing more than I would call it a reduction. Because what they do is that you get, when they do these scans, they're so high resolution that the little white specks do seemingly show up more than what you would normally expect in one of these releases. Valiant, help me out here with what
No, I was going to say, I'm going to pull up the software to kind of give you an idea.
Because there is a little bit done to it just to kind of even it out and not make it so noisy on the eye.
Give me a second here, and I'm gonna show everybody out there how this.
But what
works.
they're doing is an excessive amount of that. Is what I'm trying to say. Like this is an easy way of telling if something's off. Is if when you put in one of these movies, like 9 times out of 10, you should even see a little bit of the grain in like a solid like thing like the titles, right? Like normally you would expect that to be just completely solid, and you should see a little bit of amount of movement in the grain. And that's the thing, you got to look for the movement in the grain because they'll put this faux shit over top of it and it doesn't really move like natural grain does. And that's how I know what they're doing here with this nonsense with planes, trains, and automobiles. And that's what sticks out to me. It's almost like a ghosting kind of thing it does to the picture. It's almost like that motion blur sense of it.
That's what it's like when I saw Scream 2, and it had been a long day when I was watching it, and I was like, it's like motion reductive thing like they put on the TVs, and you're like, no, it's
Yes.
DNR, and I was like, yeah, it's the DNR, that's what it is. That's what it feels like. It's getting really bad, so sue me. I like grain. I just like grain, and I think it should have some grain. I know people are accustomed to the Marvel digital clear pictures like that, but that's not film.
Not everything is going to look like a Pixar movie.
Right.
Like, we need to understand that. And I mean, we do, but I mean, as a general public. And, when you stick in a movie like, Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, it came out in 87.
Yep.
So it needs to look like it was shot in 1987.
Exactly.
And then it's going to have some grain.
Yeah. And then, like, the sad thing is, there are maybe one or two scenes in the movie that actually look like you're going to get that 4K experience, like how it's supposed to look, and then it just goes right back into the DNR crap fest that it is.
Well, I think it's just because those scenes were clear enough that whatever AI algorithm they were using didn't do as much to those scenes. That's why. Mm-hmm. So they were naturally being allowed to shine. But even movies like I'm not pissed about it. It still looks beautiful, like Reservoir Dogs. Even that has some noise reduction done to it. And I noticed it a little bit, but it's not nearly as bad as some of the other shit that's out there. Like, I'm not even trying to pretend that that's a bad release.
No, I mean, that was what I would consider a graceful amount of noise reduction. I mean, there was still a lot of, you could tell there was natural film grain in there.
Yes.
But it was done with such care that it was not offensive. Planes, Trains, and Automobiles was just done on the cheap, and that's the best way I can say it. Rip through this as fast as you can, get it out. I mean, let's be honest. Even the case itself, the graphics, the color scheme, everything else was like, that did not scream Planes, Trains, and Automobiles to me.
It's one of the worst ones, yeah.
It really is. It's like everything about this was just, let's just shove this out as cannon fodder to make people buy it because of the
original is so much better.
That VHS, where was that? Now show the Blu-ray, or excuse me, show the 4K disc next to it, Greg. Look at that. Look at that. I'm sorry, no. No.
Actually, what's funny is I think that the new cover is a reworking of the art I used for the thumb today.
That's what's irritating.
Yeah, and then there was that other this is like a foreign version of it, which is really cool. It takes the original poster art and actually adds a background to it, which I kind of like. There's a fuller version of it than this, but it actually has the planes, trains, and automobiles around them. But this is basically that original art, only uber posterized in that 80s way. But, yeah. Anyway, now that's the least of my complaints about this release, unfortunately. I wish that was the biggest gripe, is, this shit fucking release,
It is. It's bad.
Oh, look at this. 6 sent us something. Deadline is actually promoting this, surprisingly. Or at least they got a story about it anyway, because of the deleted scenes here. Planes, Trains, and Automobiles 4K Ultra HD with deleted scenes from John Hughes archive released. But I doubt they're going to talk about how bad it looks.
Should have just put the deleted scenes on a disc and sold that.
This is Paramount paying for an advertisement right here. Yeah. Because no way this comes from the negative. No fucking way at all.
No,
it looks too trashy.
No way. And this is an older scan by far. And you know what? I'm going to compare this. I actually got Inglourious Bastards out of curiosity because it was on the Black Friday Best Buy sale. And I think I figured out what the problem is. I don't think it's a bad 4K transfer. I know, floor people, right? I just think that the Blu-ray was that good of a transfer.
Maybe.
Because I went and looked at it and I'm like, when this movie came out, this is a damn good looking Blu-ray.
Right.
And I'm like, and I compared it and I'm like, okay, because this is clearly, there's film grain there. There's actually the color pops a little better. You can see a little bit more resolution in things and the backgrounds are a bit more solid. So I'm like, I'm seeing all that, but here's my thing. What I think happened is this, and Valiant will know what I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm.
What we're getting out of this is not if it was a new 4K scan of Inglourious Bastards, it would probably look fucking beautiful, as you could imagine. What this is the theatrical release version. And what I mean is, for the digital cinemas, the version that they get is kind of a quasi somewhere between 2K and 4K. It's not quite full resolution 4K like it is on our discs. And I think that's what this version is. So it's that released into theaters version just put onto a disc.
Maybe.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Because I can't remember the exact resolution, but I know it's
the DCP or whatever they call it.
Yeah, the one that they released to theaters. Because it is a bit better. There is not nearly as much, like, there's a little less digital artifacting and noise on the 4K, and the colors are there. But I think this is just that digital inner positive is what it is, with some, Dolby Vision added onto it and shit like that. Which doesn't make it a worthy release? No. But is it better than the old Blu-ray? By about 2 points. But that's a damn good looking Blu-ray for how old it is. Because I put it in, I'm like, holy shit, I forgot how good this Blu-ray looked.
Oh, look, there were a lot of them out there like that, where it's just like they were head and shoulders above everybody else. And, it's just, it is what it is.
Well, that just means they probably had a really good digital inner positive.
Right.
I'm sure
that's what I'm
Tarantino
saying.
edited them digitally.
Maybe that was the case here,
I know it was shot on 35, but what I'm saying is what they'll do is they'll scan that into the computer and they edit it digitally from the negative. Now, the only thing then they'll do that, they'll send it back out in those scans onto 35 millimeter for 35 millimeter theaters. And then otherwise they'll just send those prints out, or the digital intermediate goes out to the theater. And that's the DCI or whatever you were talking about.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's basically 2K, but it's still a little bit more than 1080p is my point. But it's not nearly 4K. Right. So could there be a better version of Inglourious Bastards? Yes. Does it deserve the hate it's getting? Yeah, sort of, but not nearly as bad as this. This is a fucking travesty. Because I don't think Paramount's going to do anything about it.
No, and sadly, I think this is probably the best effort they give us. Sadly.
And this raises another concern of mine, because there's been some questions being brought up on how Warner Brothers mastered National Lampoon's Vacation. Some people question whether it's coming from the negative. Some people are questioning whether it's an older scan. I think it's the latter. I think it's an older scan. I think it's the scan they did for the other Blu-ray. I think it's not quite 4K as the problem. Because 4K has been a newer thing. Now, when they do these scans, now Valiant, help me out. Some of these scans, before they started doing 4K, they do them like at 2.5K or just a little bit above 2K. And then
it depends on how much they want to spend.
Well, because my point is they're getting compressed quite a bit when they're put on Blu-ray.
Oh, yeah.
So what they're doing is taking the uncompressed versions and putting them on the 4K is what they're doing, even though they're not truly 4K.
Right, and that's my point. It really depends on how much they want to spend to try to do it, quote unquote, right or wrong or whatever the case may be.
True.
Because there's only been a few really, really bad ones that I can think of that were clearly not from the negative. But they've never claimed to be either, right? Unlike this one is not necessarily claiming to be from the negative, so don't get me wrong there. But they're presenting this like it's a big deal. And that's what I'm saying. We've got this deadline write-up. It's on sale right now. We've got these deleted scenes. I guarantee you if I went to my Walmart right now, it's probably sitting there. They're pushing the shit out of this. I've seen some other people talking about it already in other places, so I don't know. I'm kind of disgusted with Paramount and how they're working this situation with this. If they were only charging us like $10 or $15 for even though it's 20, still seems like a ripoff to me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now I'm curious because going back to like Paramount and what they're doing and stuff is I know that From Dusk Till Dawn was supposed to be coming to 4K, and it was actually had a target listing 2 years ago on Halloween, and then it disappeared. So I was, you were talking about Glorious Bastards and this. So I wonder if they had some troubles with that, especially with it was supposed to be Robert Rodriguez overseeing it. So I wonder if they got into a little thing with him.
That might have more to do with, because I'm trying to remember when Miramax catalog was bought out by Paramount, because that wasn't that long ago. Would it have been 2 years ago?
It was. I remember about 2 years ago, because it actually did have a target listing for From Dusk Till Dawn 4K, but then it disappeared.
Well, I know we brought it up here not too long ago. It came out again, like it was another rumor that popped up again.
Yeah. So I'm not really sure. So I was just curious, maybe if they're having troubles, with wanting to do things on the cheap, and then these guys like Robert Rodriguez and them don't want to do that or whatever. I don't know. I don't know. It's just like you said. I'm just disgusted with this transfer of planes, trains, and automobiles.
I think it's just lost in the shuffle. Well, here's the thing that's funny, because I was sitting there last night. I think it was either last night or the night before, and I tweeted it out. I said, it's really fucked up. Whoa, we lost Valliant. It's really fucked up that now we lost Valliant. That we have a scan of Blue Hawaii, which is a Elvis movie that came out in 1961, I think. And it looks fucking amazing. Just amazing. Paramount Pictures put that out.
Mm-hmm.
How is it that can get a beautiful, brilliant transfer? Unless I'm missing something, because I've never been somebody who's seen that movie a bunch of times, but I did compare it to the Blu-ray, and it was like, holy shit.
Right.
Like, this looks beautiful. Like, it was shot in, I don't know if it was shot in 70 millimeter or what, but it looks great.
That's glad to know, because I was going to buy that. I don't know, maybe because like Paramount has like, maybe they're outsourcing different things, because like, they're doing the Paramount Presents, which is like their boutique label, so maybe they're putting a lot of effort into that. This is a
Paramount Presents, that is true.
It's Paramount Presents. And then they also licensed out titles to Kino, and we don't know all the titles yet for that, but we've got a lot from them. And then they do like their regular studio releases, so maybe they just don't care about their studio releases anymore.
Yeah, I don't know. But see, War of the Worlds, I think that 4K original transfer, I think, was overseen by Criterion. But they just got the raw files, is why their color is different. Welcome back, Valliant.
Yeah, sorry. Apparently, Adobe has not resolved one of their conflict issues with the new Mac operating system that came out a couple of weeks ago. And as soon as I started making adjustments in Adobe Lightroom to, basically pull up a window to show you guys what DNR does, the whole thing crashed and reset. So there is a conflict that Adobe has not fixed, because that is unusual. I mean, Macs are honestly about the most stable things on earth. So, but like as soon as I grabbed the slider on my digital noise reduction for luminance and slid it, boom, everything went to shit. So yeah,
whatever you did, don't do that again for now. But all right, well, it would have been nice to see that. But hey, that's all right. I think everybody kind of gets the idea.
Yeah. Yeah, I was trying to pull it up in the background to try to show you guys, and then I was like, okay, I'm going to get this ready, and then I'm going to bring up my window in the background. Tom can share it. Let me show you what DNR does to where it smashes detail, but goddamn, does Adobe need to fix their crap?
Yeah. And to answer Santiago, as far as I know, those scenes were lost, but I would say never, because until recent years, it used to be nearly impossible to get access to the negatives. Like, when they would do a lot of these transfers in the past, 9 times out of 10, they wouldn't always go back to the negatives unless they were doing a theatrical re-release, which was very rare. Like, only a handful of movies I can think of, like Oliver, Lawrence of Arabia, 2001, Star Wars, for instance. A couple movies like that they've gone back to the negatives a few times, to the point where that's the problem, is a lot of those negatives have now been destroyed, because they have gone back to them so many times. In fact, I've heard 2001, like, disintegrated. The version we have now is from, like, some 70 millimeter blow-ups and fine grain prints, but yeah. But other than that, I would say never, because that's how they found a lot of these lost scenes from Ghostbusters, is they finally got to go back to the negatives. And in those boxes of negatives were little short ends of these clips. So you never know what they could find sometimes. That's why I say never, because even though they may have been cut from what was the released cut of Friday the 13th and thought to be lost, those cut scenes may have been just put somewhere else, and they may have been cut deliberately from the negative, but then it might just be in a can somewhere. We don't know until they actually go look. And the other side of it is Universal, on the other hand, is the only one that I won't give them any leeway, but I can understand when they can't find a negative, because Universal lost a bunch of shit. We're just starting to learn how much was actually lost in their fire. And it seems some film prints and a bunch of audio masters were lost in them fires. So we'll have to see what can come of them. But so far, so good on some of their releases. But because I did watch, I'll talk about some of them later. But it would be nice if those scenes get found someday. And I wish they would do that more often. It's like, if you're going to go back and you're going to do all this work, just go back and scan everything. So you have it all, especially at 4 or 6K or 8K or whatever it is you're going to do it at. And then bank it. And then even if you don't release it all right now, you got it for later. So, but yeah, Valiant, you know more about the preservation and all that kind of stuff side of things. So.
Well, I mean, look, it's all based on what the studios want to do and how much they want to spend. It's like anything else. And, you know, some of them obviously are looking at this as a value proposition these days that are, hey, it's just not worth it anymore, right? Do as best you can, slap it onto a PVOD system, call it 4K, and that's good enough to sell it. Then you got the guys out there like the, you know, like the Francis Ford Coppolas and these other guys that are actually taking the time to do it right. Wish James Cameron would get his ass in gear, but
he's too busy with Avatar.
not much longer, from what it seems.
I know.
This might be it. This movie might be it. Look at what he's talking about.
Right.
And it's not surprising when we look at, you know, what Rings of Power was saying about their show. Obviously, though, that kind of production budget is not amortized out over all 4 films or 3 films or 3 seasons, as it were, equally. And obviously that is the case here with Avatar 2, and that's not a surprise. You know, this movie is, according to Variety and James Cameron, I guess, is they're looking at having to make somewhere close to $2 billion.
That's what he was saying, yeah.
To make this movie even break even.
That's
and
crazy.
I'm frankly not shocked at all. I'm not shocked. I mean, the first season of Rings of Power, they amortized about $400+ million of that $1 billion total budget CapEx that they allocated to this in that first season, because of course you got startup costs. You got to build sets, build props, build constructs, build the VFX baselines, everything else. That's the same thing here happening with Avatar 2. This is probably a movie that they spent $500 million putting together. And they're probably, I mean, Cameron and Disney are probably going to have to spend another $300 to $400 million to sell this sumbitch. You know, so I mean that's a tall order to climb. I mean, it is what it is.
Just Joe, yeah, I just watched this last night. So spoilers for one of my movies tonight on physical media. But
I love Rollerball.
it doesn't say on the back of it that it came from the negative, but it clearly did. It looks great. It's a great
I didn't
transfer.
realize they had put that out.
Yeah, it just came out this week.
Oh, shoot, I got to go get it.
Shout
I'm
Factory.
sitting here with Wayne's World, Usual Suspects, and Reservoir Dogs in my hand.
Oh, I haven't got Usual yet. I got the other two.
It was like, it's a little on the dark side. I don't care. It really does look good.
Honestly,
looks
I
good.
want somebody somebody out there, if you're listening that is even remotely close to Kino Lorber, please reach out to me. Okay, I've tried getting a hold of you guys in some of the normal ways, and it's not seeming to work. What is going on with you guys at Amazon?
Exactly.
Something is up. Every single new release from Kino Lorber is getting delayed, and it doesn't seem to be just me. It seems to be just about everybody I talk to is having this problem. Where did you get Usual Suspects from, Valiant?
That would have been from Amazon, actually.
Really? But that's been out now for, I think, 2-3 weeks. See, mine was delayed till January.
I got this copy probably about a week ago.
Okay, so you actually got one on time. I'm surprised because I pre-ordered mine right away,
Relatively,
too.
yeah. No, but I know
And
what
I
you're
didn't get
saying.
mine. It got delayed. And I just had another one today. Here's the weird thing, though. When you go in to accept the delay, because usually that's what Amazon will do for those who may not actually use Amazon out there. If they know they're not going to be able to meet a street date, they'll send you an email to say, do you accept this being delayed or do you want to cancel it? It won't let you accept the delay on any of the Kino titles.
I had that
It only
problem.
lets me cancel them.
I had that problem with Reservoir Dogs. However, that was ordered from Target. And that's the one I think I put the picture on Twitter where Target said, your order of Reservoir Dogs has arrived at your house. And I get home all excited. And I go in the mailbox, and there's a brown corrugated paper.
Movie.
Yeah. And I rip it open. Not only is it not a 4K disc, it's a DVD of a completely different movie. Like, not even remotely close to Reservoir Dogs. And I'm like, no. So I went into the Target app and I said, you sent me the wrong thing. And they said, okay, we're refunding your money. You can either return the item or throw it away. So I'm like, okay. And then I got in the car and I drove down to Best Buy and I bought my Steelbook copy of Reservoir Dogs. So, I mean, you never know how it's going to work. But I agree with you. I mean, Amazon obviously has problems with some of these specialty manufacturers, I guess, for lack of better words, like Kino. And yeah, I'm sure Kino is sitting there wondering, all right, whose dick I got to suck to get this shit out on time because it doesn't look good for them. It doesn't help anybody from a commercial standpoint. It kind of sucks because they're trying to run a business and, you know, some of that spills back on them and they get a bad reputation because they can't fulfill orders in a timely manner. And I don't blame them. There's obviously, Kino Lorber is a tiny little, almost microscopic cog in the wheel of Amazon. I mean, it's like they're nothing. So I'm sure they're trying to get their stuff together, fulfill their orders, make their customers happy, but obviously things just don't work out sometimes. So.
And then Billy D has been a member for 19 months to minimum effort puppy level. Thank you for that, Billy D. We appreciate that. So yeah, if anybody has any problems like this, please reach out to me. I'd love to hear more about it. I'd like to get to the bottom of this stuff, especially the Kino Lorber thing. And if there's somebody from Kino who happens to actually be listening, I'm not asking for anything free. I actually spend a lot of fucking money on Kino.
Mm-hmm. I know what reminds me. I got to get High Plains Drifter.
Yeah, that's the one that today got delayed.
That's why I was
but
going
here's
to
the thing. I already
the
ordered that from Kino, so in case this happens. So
there you go.
And see, I'm waiting. Yeah, see, channel. I had to wait now because unlike they did this is the weird thing with them. I messaged them about this. They got me back to me about this, but not the other thing. Because I said, why haven't I got my other orders yet? And they said, oh, because you have this pre-order and this pre-order and this pre-order all in these separate orders. I'm like, oh, okay. But before they sent me an order and then they sent me Mystery Men separately, so I didn't have to wait. And they even sent that in the email saying that. So I don't know why they just wouldn't do that with these other movies. But hey, I guess it saves them on shipping and handling. I'm not going to argue with them. But I've heard, here's the thing with Usual Suspects. I know some people have been complaining about the transfer. I talked to Robert Meyer Burnett personally about this because he worked on the special features for the original film. He said this is the best the movie's ever looked, and you have to understand that movie was shot with ends. Valiant, you want to explain what ends are?
Wait, I'm sorry, shot with ends?
Yeah.
I got to be honest now. I don't
never heard of that before?
I've never heard of that term, but if you explain it, I might go,
I think you'll know what I'm talking about. What it is they would go around and they would cheaply buy leftover bits of film that weren't used.
Ends.
Ends.
E-N-D-S.
Yes. So Usual Suspects was literally shot from ends of other movies.
Yeah.
So they had like maybe
I had not heard
3
that about
minutes
that
of
film.
a shot at every time because the normal film reel has what? 9 or 10 minutes? I can't remember.
It varied. I mean,
is it 12 or 15? I can't remember.
If you're shooting on 35 millimeter film,
it depends,
depending on the size of the camera. So if you're using like a Panaflex camera, Panavision camera, depending on the case that you had on top, Yeah, most of those might have had like I think maybe a 15 to 20 minute reel capacity at 24 frames a second. I mean, when you're talking about a physical reel of film, 24 frames a second, you start doing the math on that. I mean, that's not, you don't get a lot out of those cans, right? I mean, that's
Yeah.
yeah. So yeah, probably so.
But
Where
this
they were
shit's
like,
really expensive. So what they would do is go around to other productions, and at the end of the days, when they would have, clip out whatever ends they had left on a reel of film that they didn't shoot all of,
mhm.
they would buy it for a couple bucks from whoever, and that's how the movie was shot. So they
Yeah.
literally have like 2-3 minutes worth of film here and there in most
That's
cases.
interesting. I had not heard that, but you know what? That's actually really, really cool and clever, and it makes a lot of sense. And because I mean, you look back at that film, there's a lot of shots that, of course, the way the story is told lends itself very well to it. There's a lot of shots from the beginning of the movie to the end of the movie that are reused, and throughout the film, where they just go back and reuse the same shot, but then expand on the story. Or it's a lot of quick shots and things
Yeah.
like this. So I mean, obviously they bought their own cans to do the longer shots. I mean, especially like when Kevin Spacey and Chaz Palminteri were in the interrogation room, or really not an interrogation room, but they were talking to each other. Those required longer shots, but there was a lot of other shots and scenes in there where there was like, it was just a pan in on Gabriel Byrne, or a zoom out on Benicio del Toro, or something like that, to where, I mean, look, we can use these,
They probably bought them from an
Short-
editor, I would imagine.
yeah.
Probably an editor who's working on like 3 different projects, and at the end they just work a deal with them, and then at the end they come in, and at the end of the week, and he'd give them like 2 or 3 reels full of ends, probably is what it is.
But I mean, look, this is
Or
back
actually,
in the
they would
days.
be magazines, wouldn't they? Technically, be in that form?
Well, yeah,
Before they're taken out of the.
They'd be on reels, but I mean, they'd be specially loaded reels for the cans and those Panaflex cameras. But I mean, look, it's just such a great film. It is still, it should go down in history as one of the best films ever made. It's brilliant. It's simple. It delivers a great story with a truly great twist at the end. And just to remind everybody, Bryan Singer directed it, but who wrote that movie? Christopher McQuarrie.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I forgot about that.
Christopher McQuarrie wrote that movie. The same guy that does a lot of Tom Cruise's stuff. The same guy that did like Oblivion and Edge of Tomorrow, and did a lot of writing and work on Top Gun Maverick, and is working on most of and including the next 2 entries in the Mission Impossible series. Look,
Right.
Chris McQuarrie's a gem. He's a often forgotten gem of Hollywood, but he was the screenwriter, the lone screenwriter for Usual Suspects.
Well, and as far as Bryan Singer goes, I'm not going to stand up for him or say it's all bullshit, but I will say that I've heard other sides of stories, and I did my own investigation into the deal that those 2 reporters put out there, and it's really kind of stretching thin. I'm not saying he's not guilty of some questionable shit. I'm just saying that
I hadn't seen the story.
Okay, well, basically, they stretched some things in the story that made it sound worse than it really was. Yeah, he does obviously have a pension for younger guys, but we're talking
For Bryan
legal
Singer.
age. Yes.
Yeah.
All these guys that we're actually
I hadn't heard
talking
any of
about,
this,
they
so
were
this
like
is new to me.
18, 19.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's one thing. But another thing they always kept leaving out is that he actually dated women too. So he was bisexual. They always leave that part out. And
Bryan
then
Singer liked anything with a hole.
pretty much from what we've heard. Yeah. So that's the thing. Now, as far as the rest goes, again, I can't say that he's completely innocent of all and any deeds, but these guys who had this supposed expose, they were from old boyfriends that were legal age, but they were of the younger persuasion, like I said, in the 18, 19-year-old age group. But they had not one, but more than, I think it was 3 total editors tell them, you ain't got nothing here but a big bunch of fugazi. You got some spurned boyfriends who want to tell basically a smirching story on an ex-boyfriend is what you've got.
Mm-hmm.
And they used that as an idea that they were trying to kill the story. So they got Ronan Farrow's attention. And that's when this thing really took off. Because for those who don't know who Ronan Farrow is, he's Mia Farrow's son, and he's the one who's responsible for all this Weinstein, Cosby, you name it. He's the guy behind most of that stuff. And again, a lot of the times he exposed some very sick individuals, let's say. But in this case, I think they may be stretching a bit too much, but I'm not 100% sure. I'm not going to back that pony. You know what I mean?
I'll be honest, Bryan Singer's not one of my favorite directors anyway.
Because we killed a story. We killed a story once because we could not verify. It had to do with Bryan Singer and him leaving X-Men and him supposedly leaving Bohemian Rhapsody. We got from a very good source that was a bunch of bullshit put out in the public eye to try and help the perception of the movie. He was there every day of shooting. And
Singer?
he shot and edited that film, from what I was told from somebody who knows him personally.
I'm sorry, talking about Singer?
Yes.
Okay.
But the media presented it that he just left. And because they knew it was going to hurt the movie's Oscar chances if they didn't.
Well.
And they presented this idea that this other individual came in and finished off the picture.
Well. Kind of like Salieri and Mozart, huh?
If you believe the stories, yeah.
But it was in Amadeus, motherfucker.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about, but there's people who argue that is
No, I know.
some of the most blatant bullshit in almost Woman King level bullshit.
That's pretty bad. No,
That's bad.
I get it. I'm
Because actually, from what I've heard, and historically, they actually got along and worked together a few times. So like this whole thing.
Well,
of
it's like they tell you when they make those movies. It's like, some elements of the story have been changed for artistic reasons, and it's like, which basically tells you that everything you're about to watch is a complete donkey pile. So
I was watching this interview with Weird Al and Bill Maher, and of course they were talking about it because Weird Al's movie just came out.
Yeah.
And Bill was griping about watching Elvis, and he's like, "Why do you need to make this shit up? Elvis was already dramatic enough." And he's right. Because we had this conversation, Greg, right? On the night, even though this new Elvis biopic is probably the most accurate of all the ones we've ever seen before, it still can't help but get in the way of itself and make shit up.
Yep.
For no good fucking reason other than just to make shit up.
Right.
There's no real reason for it, but
if anything, like if you do buy a pick on like Elvis or the Beatles or something, there's enough in their life that they did that is very movie worthy that you don't need to make up at all.
Exactly.
It's
and
just
and
crazy.
Bill says, like rightfully so, sometimes for dramatic purposes they want to tie, or actually Weird Al made this point, for dramatic purposes sometimes they want to tie 2 or 3 events that did happen together but years apart at the same night. Like at the exact same time, just to make it easier for the story. But he goes, of course, that was the catalyst for me making Weird the way I did. It was basically just that, a parody of these movies, which it is, and it works okay, but that's not what this is. This is not a review for Weird. But still just saying like, you got to understand though, sometimes when it comes to movies like that, I'm very forgiving. That's why if I say something really bad about a transfer, then I'm going to say it with good reason. It may sound like I bitch and piss and moan a lot, but I know what goes into these. And if you're spending that kind of money and you're going back to the negative, then the least you could do is do it right.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the thing that we're having a problem here, especially with Paramount and some of these other companies. Now I got to praise, we should praise some companies. Sony being number one amongst them, other than a lot of the boutique companies. We could never give the boutique companies enough praise, between like Vinegar Syndrome, Kino Lorber, Shout Factory, even Criterion still does some great work. Regardless of the snafus they've had, they still, Blue Underground, who else? I'm sure there's Severin, tons of them I'm missing out on that are great and do
Synapse
that do beautiful fucking work.
Mm-hmm.
But none of the studios can really live up to that. The only ones I can really say so far that have been killing it is Sony.
Mm-hmm.
And Universal has done pretty good so far. Like I can't think of any Universal ones offhand that really look horrible.
Right.
I'm sure somebody may bring one up. Arrow is another great one. Thank you, Tune again.
Not to distract you from there, but
yeah.
MVD.
MVD. I haven't seen.
is-
Well, they haven't done a 4K yet, have they?
No, that's their first 4K is going to be Rain Man. But this is a little bit. Their Black Friday, Cyber Monday sales going on right now. They have DVDs starting at 99 cents.
Really?
Yes, from 99 cents all the way up to about $20 is their sale going on right now.
And they'll pay you 99 cents to take all the copies of the Rose Tico Christmas
Some of those
special.
99-cent ones
are. Send me the link for that.
I will.
Greg. But no, like I think Sony is, and really from what I heard, the only reason Sony's doing such a bang up job, believe it or not, we can thank Quentin Tarantino. I heard that he personally went to the president, Tom Rothman, and said, you need to do these 4K releases right. You need to go back to the negative. You need to give them proper restorations. And he is the reason why Sony's been knocking it out of the park with their restorations, I guess. Because he made them take it seriously. And I think he's part of the reason we're getting these prestige collections out of Columbia. And I'm floored because I go into these and they have these great books that come with them and they explain to you the entire restoration process. They don't candy coat it in any way. They tell you if it all comes from the negative or if pieces are coming from here, there, and everywhere, which they have in certain cases. And there was a really great release that has kind of gone under our nose and we didn't even know about it. And that was League of Their Own, was another one like The Outsiders that was reconstructed from the ground up. I guess that's 100% negative in that 4K, which I can't wait to check it out. I have it. I just overlooked it because I'm like, oh, it's just League of Their Own. I've seen it a million times. I don't need to watch it right now. So like I'm at this point where there's some great stuff out there. You can make these movies look great. Some of these movies, when I get to see them in the pristine quality that I never thought I could ever see them in, it almost makes me want to cry. But it equally makes me want to cry when I see the travesties that are done to movies like Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, and how a lot of people will buy this and they will think it's okay, or they won't understand why we don't like it.
Well, they see the 4K label on there and they just go, well, okay, that's it. I mean, look, and I bought it, to be fair, I bought it sight unseen, unreviewed, because I loved the movie so much I was willing to pre-order that damn thing.
Right, me
with
too.
The expectation that, that it would be great. And it's obviously been very disappointing, like we've been talking about. But I apologize. I do have to run out. My wife just rang.
That's all right. Hopefully everything's okay. We're going to wrap this up anyway.
She had a fever last night, and she's been working today at the studio trying to get things ready for the Santa Claus weekend. But I think she's come down with a flu, and she's feeling like crap. She just went into an urgent care to probably go get tested to make sure it's not COVID. I had that again 2 months ago. I don't think that's what she's got.
I didn't get a fever with my COVID.
I did. The first time I had COVID back in 2020, I was completely asymptomatic. I had like a sniffle, and I thought it was allergies because
same here.
I went out and I mowed my lawn for the first time that spring, and the lawnmower was just covered in pollen. And I'm like, a day later, I'm like, oh, I got stuff coming out of my eyes and my nose and everywhere else. I'm like, it's totally allergies. They're like, no, you got COVID. I'm like, sumbitch.
Same thing, man.
The second time I got it this year, it was like for 2 days, it sucked. And then it just died and went away.
Well, hopefully it's nothing serious, and have a happy Thanksgiving with the family.
Y'all too, happy Thanksgiving to everybody out there, and make sure you smash that like button, send in some super chats, and happy Thanksgiving to everybody.
Yes, take care.
Take care, man.
All right. So with that, let's wrap this up. What do you say, Greg? I think
sure.
we covered everything pretty well.
Mm-hmm.
At this point, I wish we could recommend this movie. I hate when we can't recommend a 4K.
Me too.
I really do. It sucks, especially to a movie like this that we really give a shit about a lot.
I know. There's very few movies I will watch once a year. Right. I watch this movie every Thanksgiving. Yearly. I have for the past 20 years. And I was super excited for this. And I, like Valliant said, I bought it sight unseen without reading any reviews because I was just 75 minutes deleted scenes, 4K. This is going to be awesome. And then it's what the fuck? So yeah, I wish I could recommend it, but I can't. I can't do that.
Yeah, but there's a few others I can recommend. So tune into Physical Media tonight.
Yes.
Find out what they could be.
And I'll probably be talking about this one again too, because it's one of my picks.
I think we will.
Because I watched
Yes.
it.
And with
So,
that, ladies and gentlemen, take care of yourselves and each other. Have a happy and wonderful Thanksgiving.
Gobble gobble.